Do do do. As I'm doing 65 million things, and I just realized I pressed it to go live, and no one can see me because I'm trying to do something on my phone. Ah, gotta love it. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. I'm back. I am here. I am here. Hey, everybody who's joining. What up? What up? I'm so happy you're here, Twinsing, because I wanted to give you a shout out. I'll wait until more people join because I definitely have a shout out to give you because of your video we were interacting with. Sorry, I now have to clean the camera because my fingers are all over it. But I needed to talk about your thing about wives not dressing up at home, but dressing up to go out. So I thought that was interesting. So I definitely wanted to put that as part of the show because I think that might be something about keeping the peace, because I don't know no man who wants their woman to not dress up at home, but dress up, I don't know. But that's just me. Welcome, welcome. As people are joining us, I'm also going to join. We're actually recording on my phone tonight instead of the iPad, so my eyes can't see everything. So I'm gonna go in just to make sure that I can see all of the questions that are here and send out the show to a bunch of people. That's what I'm also going to do, so people know that we are live, because people should know what's going on, shouldn't they? Robert, you got nothing to say?
Oh, no, I'm letting you do your thing.
It's very unusual to get nothing to say, so I don't know if I should be a little bit concerned.
I'll just be quiet at the beginning of the show. Let her do her thing. I have no bearings on invites, promotions, marketing, any of that. Again, I'm talent. I just show up.
Yeah, and you know what? I can't. I actually can't. He says to me he's talent. So he doesn't do, when I say he doesn't do anything other than show up, okay, we do converse about the topic. Okay, so he does do a little bit of that. I still choose, but my man said he's going all Hollywood on me now, talking about his talent, but since we're keeping the peace and that's the topic, we'll talk about how I keep the peace in that situation. When my man is talking about his talent, yeah, God,
sorry.
God bless my soul, but like God help me. Are we good? Everybody can hear us? If you can hear me, can you give me a thumbs up? I just want to make sure, because for some reason on my side it's saying that there's a problem. So if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up or like, that would be fantastic. Hey Diana! Okay, so I think people can hear me. Hey Shelly. Thank you for everybody that's joining. Okay, good. You guys are awesome. You can hear me. Thank you. We are going to get started in a couple of music. I want to do background music, but the last time we tried to play some background music, they actually turned us off. So if anybody wants to do some bartering and you're a musician and wants to create like a song for us on a barter system, please let me know. Because bartering is the new thing for me. So if you can and you know anyone. Okay, well apparently again talent didn't let me know what to do.
And we trust her picking the music. We just, nothing against your musical taste, but just we want to keep the energy in a certain place, and she'll have some, like, I don't know. I'm just saying.
First of all, my musical taste is great.
Yeah, your musical taste is
I'm Jamaican. I play lots of good music, but he plays this like new trap. Anyways, it's basically like new music versus old music, and when I'm driving, which isn't very often actually, I get to play my music, but most of the time I honestly, he started giving me the iPad so I could see the words, because I had no idea. I honestly had no idea what okay. I feel old saying that, but it is what it is. Like, I don't have any idea. So he has to give me the iPad with Apple Music, and I guess they have the words, and so that's how I know what. I just don't know. But I know all the 90s, like hip hop and R&B and reggae and dance hall and all that. But this new I don't.
Definitely got that covered.
Thank you. So I have great musical taste.
Mm-hmm.
You're feisty.
I'll take it.
Keeping the peace.
And anybody viewing and watching along, can you do me a massive favor and just do like a little ticker for every time she says I'm Jamaican? I'm curious how many times we cover that. It's kind of like people that went to Harvard, like they make sure you know they went to Harvard. And I think, again, the Jamaican thing. So I think we had 2 already. We'll see how many we get.
You know what? The topic is keeping the peace. So I am very proud of being Jamaican. And so I say it often. So thank you. Thank you. Twins Inc. I think is going to be keeping the ticker.
Thank you. I'm just curious.
Whatever.
If we get a follower for every time she says she's Jamaican, we are going to be fine.
As I kiss my teeth. Anywho, I digress. So, today's topic is keeping the peace. And I want to thank everyone who took the time to take our poll. The poll was actually not as surprising as last week's poll that we did, but it was interesting, some of the no answers in terms of people wanted to keep the peace. So I am actually curious to know if anybody wanted to go live with us in terms of in their relationship, how they keep the peace, because I think
love to hear it.
Relationships are tough. And ticker number 2 or 3, what are we on to? Because I'm about to say I'm Jamaican. So my mouth is hot.
Mm-hmm.
My mouth is my mouth, and it is what it is, and I naturally want to fire back when he says something that irks on my nerves.
Which is a lot.
Which is every day, and probably if we had a ticker for the next hour, it would probably say 10 things that probably irk my nerve. And so my natural inclination is to fire back. I have learned, however, for the longevity of our relationship, specifically this relationship, that I actually have to fight my natural inclination to tell him about his Ross and keep the peace, because not everything he says that irritates me deserves a response.
Yeah. And you also, I think, have to keep in perspective that
I'm on 4. Sorry. Twins, thank you.
That you cite every particle that is out of place around this house. So you cannot be constantly chirping back when you naturally have a million things to say during the course of the day.
I do. Okay, so I have slight OCD, right? Like I really do. And so things need, and it's otherwise called put things back in their fucking place. Like that's what OCD is to me. I live in a house where people don't put things back in their place. And so they're constantly hearing my mouth, because whether I'm saying it like actually out loud to them or I'm just saying it out loud because I'm irritated, they're going to hear, because they don't seem to appreciate that when you move something, you put it back in its place.
I guess. I seem to see that it's difficult for your house to look like a Home and Gardens picture 24/7.
I know it's
Anybody feel me on that? Like,
please, someone who is where I'm from. Shelly, you're on. Any of the, because I can't say, because Twins Inc. really has me at 4. Okay, listen. I grew up in a house where things did look like my mother had all of these things displayed, and trust me, throughout the day, throughout the night, it was like that. It was just the way it was. And when I was back home with my daughter, I had groomed her to understand when you pick something up, you put it back. So for me, that's what I'm accustomed to. So yes, I'm going to chirp all day because the way it was and what I'm used to. So, but I have to get used to a new normal. So instead of cussing at them, sometimes I just cuss in the air and get it out, but it's to no one in particular. Let's see, Shelly, who is also Jamaican, we went to high school. She said, yup, display, don't touch it. Like back in and again, West Indian families will have this. Let me know if any American families have this. But when you lived in a house, there was a whole section of a living room that you didn't even sit in. It was just there. And back in the day, like in the 80s and 90s, it used to have like this plastic wrap on it. And so if you sat on it, it did like a little squeak. It did a little squeak. So the household would know. And so again, everything looked the way it was. I can't focus in mess, but again, I have become accustomed to the fact that just because I want things done a certain way doesn't mean that people in this house are going to do it. And so if I want it a certain way, part of my keeping the peace is I just do it myself. I just anticipate that they're just not going to do what I want them to do.
I guess. I'm not necessarily speaking of mess.
Oh, you said 5. I mean, Twin Stink, I didn't actually say Jamaica. Oh, did I?
Probably.
Maybe I did.
I realize you do it. I'm speaking of if my cup is on the coffee table, why is there a time frame that it's able to be on the coffee table before it's considered out of place? Like, why do I have to drink it in a certain time?
No, you're such a liar. No one does that. So he's trying to paint me as like a real psycho right now, and that is unfair. I don't actually do that. Is wrong. I don't actually do that. However, we rearranged our living room recently, and I have a coffee table that I quite love, and it's glass, and I have to clean it all the time. And he used to take his cold drink and put it on there, so the ring would be left, and I would move that. We have a coffee table I don't particularly like, so you can keep anything on there for the longest time. I don't care about that. That is untrue.
Why do I have to go looking for my stuff on Saturday morning?
Okay, so here's the thing. Don't even
coffee
start.
table empty.
Here's the thing.
Like,
but if he goes to bed before me,
up.
he leaves a bunch of stuff on the coffee table. We have a chair. It's like a gaming chair, and it has a hidden console. And so the whole point of us buying that chair was the agreement that, babe, fine, at the end of the night, you have your things, put your crouches. This is number 6, Twin Sing. As Jamaicans like to say, I did not say I'm Jamaican. Jamaicans like to say, put your crouches in the console, so when I wake up in the morning, the house looks pristine. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Thank you. See, Shelly said that doesn't count. She says, oh no, a coaster, which we actually need to get for the house. We don't actually have.
I'm sure that's why the guys being quiet, because they, just like all them rules, and we don't really worry about them. I feel bad for my daughter though, because she doesn't have the same leeway that I have to say, like, kind of turn your nose up at the rules. So I don't know. I like she treats it like there's 2 kids in the house all the time. So I act out.
Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
So now it comes out. Okay, cool.
Yes.
So exactly how please, someone who has done this, please let me know, because I get it. I get what he's saying. We cannot always have the house looking pristine. I want to say I believe that. I don't, because I did for many years. I think it's more than possible to have your house looking amazing. And he has random guests in that will come and knock on the door. Like, he doesn't say to me, hey, someone's coming. Like, they'll knock on the door and they come in. So understanding that, I'm a big person, is your bathroom should always be clean, your kitchen should always be clean, your living space will always be clean. Your bedroom doors you can close. And so those spaces that should always be clean, because you never know when you're getting guests. Someone comes, they generally might want a glass of water, so they fall into the kitchen, or they want to use the bathroom. So yes, I am a big believer that your house should be clean. Again, our room is still clean. Everything is clean, but I am a believer that, again, your house represents who you are. And I can't be no dirty woman. And when people are coming to the house, just unannounced.
I appreciate it. It's just a little nerve-wracking sometimes. That's the only thing. So, keeping the peace. As you guys can all imagine, we have plenty issues that could be unpeaceful. Plenty.
Plenty. How much plenty did you have to say? We don't have that many issues.
They're little though. We don't got big issues. We got tons of little issues, no big issues. I'll take that. So, how we tend to keep the peace is, I think the first thing is just be true to yourself. Like, I don't, when you're dealing with someone, in my opinion, you got to deal with them good, bad, and ugly. So good, we've talked about her great attributes. She lets me just be talented. She manages my life. She keeps the house clean. She does all of these wonderful things for me that are so good. Bad is...
I can't.
There's just not much wiggle room outside of her perspective, No, there is. You remain open-minded, but you're very...
I have strong views.
Very, exactly. And the ugly of it is, we both can be hot-headed, and sometimes, I think that's what saves us, though.
Why?
Because I know if I keep talking, it'll get bad. I think if you keep talking, it'll get bad.
Well,
so
Nurse Denise has said,
stop talking sometimes.
Pick your battles.
Pick your battles.
Oh, and here's my best friend. Hey, Naomi, she has very much lied. She had to say something. She very much said, I'm set in my ways.
And so am I.
Strong views. Thank you, Naomi.
So, it's like, that comes to me as a person, like, what makes more sense? Me accepting her as she is, or me pining after her to iron out the kinks and fix the things that I think need to be fixed? Like, again, she's set in her ways. And vice versa. She doesn't do a ton of, like, trying to change me or, quote unquote, fix me. She doesn't necessarily like it.
I don't.
But she just deals with me.
I don't.
But I think on the flip side of that, men have to deal with women. And it's not always thrilling.
But here's the thing, and I agree that you have to pick your battles. That's what Nurse Denise said, and someone said don't sweat the small stuff. Sorry if I can't see because I'm going between. Oh, Naomi's actually saying no one is perfect. Don't sweat the small stuff.
Why is it doing that?
I don't know. But the thing was, I always laugh and say be careful. Actually, people always say be careful what you wish for. I say be specific for what you wish for. For me, in a relationship, I always wanted that very strong male personality because I'm such a strong female personality. And quite frankly, I'm going to be honest, like any man who gives me a mile, I take the whole acre. Because I can run over people. My best friend's on, she can tell you. I have that ability. And so for me, I knew that being in a successful relationship, that I had to have someone who would push back and stand their ground. And as we said last week, he tumbles me all the time. No. And so in doing that, I was like, if I'm going to ask for someone who is that person, I'm going to have to respect that that's what I have to deal with and understand that I'm not always going to get my way, which I used to do. I used to generally get my way. That wasn't a good thing. What, Mama?
I said we could tell.
Excuse me.
We could tell.
Elaborate.
Just you are very much a person who was used to a certain level of treatment, and that's why I was presented to you.
Oh, the universe has a wicked sense of humor, doesn't it?
Yep. I just came stoned on all of it.
So Twins Inc., by the way, if you guys are not following Twins Inc., please do follow Twins Inc. They got a great podcast, and they actually had, he had to put up a post recently about women dressing up for their, kind of going out and for the office and not dressing up for their men. And I want to talk about that later in the show. But Twins Inc. is asking, why is pick your battles even a thing?
Because people want to be right all the time. Like, people will burn up the whole earth just to be right, then be standing there looking around like, what am I gonna do? Like, I think, and especially in relationships, you know what I'm saying? Not even romantic relationships, just relationships in general. I just got into a rather spirited discussion about Kyrie Irving with my mom, to where I'm pretty sure she's mad at me right now. Like, but that's like, why is that having that much bearing on it? Because we both have a desire to be right sometimes. And because it's a silly topic, it's not a big deal, but what if it's a fundamental issue between two people and you both feel like you're right? That's where keeping the peace becomes extremely pivotal, because I tend to look at it like political negotiations, where the best deals are the deals where nobody's happy. Nobody gets everything what they want. Because that means that there truly was compromise from all parties.
Agreed. I actually agree with that.
And when someone leaves the negotiating table like, woo!
I got it! Somebody
else is like, oh, got the vice grips on them. You know
I agree. And Nurse Denise, she responded to Twins and said to keep the peace, right? Like, that is why here's the thing, and I said it on the last show, and I said, I only have so many fucks to give throughout the day. And so I have to decide, when he grates on my nerves, which fuck am I willing to give away that fuck for the day? Because there's some things that they're just not worth the energy. I'm all about energy. Like the energy I spend the first 2 hours I wake up is a lot. I do 2 workouts, including hiking a mountain and getting to the mountain, and then a workout at home, and then sometimes I run, and there's all these different things. So in the first 2 hours of my day, I've expended a lot of energy. So throughout the rest of the day, I gotta kind of keep it at a certain level. And I have this, for working with him and our personalities, I've actually had to say to him, to myself, about him, is this worth what you're about to say? And I've actually done it where I quickly played out the conversation in my mind. Like, if I respond knowing him this way, knowing him, he'll respond this way, which will cause me to do this way. And you know what? It's just not worth it. And so in almost 30 seconds to a minute, I have decided this is not worth the response. Because sometimes he says stuff and I've gone silent. And I don't know if you notice it. I literally go silent for a minute. It's because I'm actually playing out. If I were to respond to him in this moment, this is going to go in a place that's not worth it for us. And so I don't bother. But when I am rooted in something, oh no, I'm a pop off.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, and I'm similarly in that space. I think there's spaces where I'm very acute, like your voice is in my head, like she's gonna have an issue with this or that or the third. And then, there's those grumpier moments where it's just like, I don't care, like, let her get mad, And I think that's healthy, that's not unhealthy. You shouldn't have to be on eggshells in your relationship. You shouldn't have to live in fear of speaking your mind or your opinion. You should be able to open your mouth
and say how you feel
inside of your relationship.
But again, and Twins Inc., you're on it tonight. Thanks, buddy. He said, I get the peace part. I'd rather be alone than have to worry about making sure I'm keeping peace. Life is too short. Right. And listen, let me be clear. I'm not saying that he doesn't hear my mouth. He absolutely hears my mouth. But I talked about it on last week's show, right? I am committed to the idea of commitment in the relationship more than I'm committed to him making me happy all the time in the relationship. Am I happy in my relationship? Yes. Is he going to make me happy all the time in the relationship? No. And sometimes what he says is just something that in that moment grates on my nerve, but it really isn't that important in the long-term thing. And you know what? And I have a new book that will be coming out. It'll be the same title as the show. And I talk about the fact is often we make permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. And often those moments of slight anger or frustration or whatever it is, it's a temporary feeling, but our mouth gets us into situations where we are forced to sometimes make permanent decisions. Like, how many times have you said something in a relationship, either your current relationship or your past relationship, where when it came out of your mouth, you wanted to grab it and put it right back? Because you knew fundamentally that even though you didn't really mean it the way it came out, the other person's going to receive it in the worst way. And that is why our number one rule in the relationship, in our relationship contract, which we talked about, was no disrespect. And again, I can pop off like nobody's business. I know that. Again, my best friend has been very much on it. She said I'm set in my ways. I have a terrible mouth, thank God for therapy. But I have those moments where it was important for us to be like, because our number one thing is no disrespect, those moments where your mouth is too quick.
That's what I was gonna touch on.
When your mouth becomes too quick and your head hasn't thought about it, exactly you gotta reel that back in. We don't have that, thank the Lord. Actually, we did have one moment which I'll talk about.
Yeah, I was just thinking though, like the funny thing is we have this rule, no disrespect, but we really don't have a concrete, tangible definition of what disrespect is. We both know it when we see it. You know what I'm saying? With that being said, we both have a lot of leeway. Like, I speak freely with her. She speaks freely with me. We're not tender individuals.
Like, we're not tiptoeing around conversations.
Like, so she could say some things sometimes that I'm just like, oh, damn, okay. And it may be a mental no. It may be like, hell with you. But it was spoke on, and if nothing else, it gives her the catharsis to be like, I put it in the air.
I said it.
Sometimes people put in the air things that shouldn't be in the air. Like,
I said it.
That's the stuff you keep inside. Like, I can be thinking, but once I put it in the air, now I've let her know I'm thinking that. That kind of falls into that temporary versus permanent. You know what I'm saying? I would never want her to feel like when I'm really upset, she's not that attractive. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's be real. But I would never be like, you, and then 3-4 days later, like, hey, so what's up? Because she still got that thing stuck in my head about me blurting out about, with your, I don't know, just some random.
With my gray hair, I don't know what the hell shade you
doing. Those are things we tease about. I call you old all the time.
He does call. Oh, so I'm gonna take a couple of comments because people are in this one today. So Nanny has said, take a breath before flying off the handle. Oftentimes you won't say the things you would have without it. Absolutely. That's why my 1 minute 30-second silence. Trust me, I've learned that. And funny enough, I've learned that from people like Nanny in my life, or my other best friend Odelia, to be like, Sheba, you can't pop off all the time. Twin Zinc is saying, I'm speaking from a man's point of view. Hardworking man got to deal with life, police, and stretch. On top of all of that, I got to watch every word that comes out of my mouth.
She understands that though. That's one thing I give her immense props on. She understands. Like, I work from home, so it's not like I gotta commute or I'm out and I don't have that part of it. But again, anytime I step out them doors, she understands intrinsically what's waiting for me out there. So when I step back in those doors, even if she doesn't like how long I was gone, how I smell when I come back in, or a litany that I ate and she cooked dinner, or a litany of other things that I could do wrong when I'm outside of the door, when I come back in, she does very, 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 very good job of trying to protect the peace in this household. That is priceless to a man, any man. Because again, you go through it out there in the world, you should not have to cross your threshold and go through it again. Start another battle up. Start, defending yourself in another manner. So I appreciate very much that I don't have to do that inside my home space. I don't have to watch what I say, unless it's something that's just completely foul that I ain't got no business saying anyways, which doesn't cross my mind.
Which doesn't, I can't say that that's
I
happened.
get upset with her. I very rarely get angry with her. It's a big difference. I think sometimes you just got to look at the semantics of the relationship and the state of day-to-day living. Like, there's 365 days in a year. Like, there's no way. Like, look here, man. Like, if your favorite celebrity moved in with you tomorrow, there's no way you would enjoy their company 365 consecutive days. It's impossible. No human can get that to you. You got to know the difference. And when they work in your nerves, and when I get on my own damn nerves.
Yes, you should. You should get on your own damn nerves. Because you're annoying.
Damn nerves sometimes. I'll be in a foul mood, be in a dug-in position, be having some crazy thoughts, and I'll be sitting there thinking to myself sometimes, like, yo, you are a nut job. You know what I mean? And work my way through those feelings. There's like the saying, woke up on the wrong side of the bed.
Yeah.
I do that. I just probably gonna be like 11, 12 o'clock before anything makes me smile. It is just what it is. But what I don't do is make her feel like it's her fault or that she's got to fix it.
And I think we've both been good at that, because of course there are times where I'm just going through something and be like, babe, you're okay. And I'm like, I'm feeling a certain kind of way and I can't verbalize it right now, right? And I think that was the key of learning from me, is sometimes I'm going through something and I can't verbalize it. So instead of splurting out whatever's in my head, I try to get my thoughts together. So if it is something with him that I'm like, hey, I need to, address this with you, or maybe it's just something with me. Listen, cohabitation is difficult. And we also got to remember, like, I left everything and everyone behind. So there are times I'm just gonna wake up and I'm just in a mood. But it's not him, it's not anything, it's just the space I'm in. Cohabitation is hard, and I think if people think that this cohabitation thing is easy, it's not. And I had to, because I was writing in the book today, I had to realize, just as hard as it was for me, it's equally as hard for him, because he actually has to deal with the fact that I left everything and everyone behind.
That's a great point. I think women, especially, and I'm speaking for the fellas right now, I think it's important sometimes for a woman to separate when she's just in a place of not being content. Because men, our natural perspective is, when we catch disharmony off of you, we automatically assume it's us. We automatically default to, she's not happy with this relationship. She's not happy with the state of things. And sometimes that's not it at all. She's not happy with Toshiba. Mm-hmm. So it helps that she's able to communicate that sometimes. We have, like, I call it her woman cave, or like, it's really just our walk-in closet. But she goes in there, sits Indian style, take her little device in there, and we'll close that closet door. And sometimes I'll be like, damn, is she in the house? Like, she's gone. She disappeared. But I find she does that when sometimes she's just in those spaces. Or she gets really like, everybody has their idiosyncrasies. Me, I get into a space that sometimes I don't even want my kids around me. Like, I want to be alone. And that ain't got nothing to do with anyone. That has nothing to do with anyone. I just want to be alone.
I had to get used to that.
And do that. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry to cut you, babe. No. And it's funny, when I first got here, I had to get used to that. Like, he would go, he's not allowed to smoke in the house at all. And before we moved into this place, we were staying in another place, and you couldn't smoke at all. So he would go downstairs to the car and smoke, and he would be gone for hours, like 2 hours. I think that was the max that you went away. And he would go in there and he would watch a movie, or he'd watch Grey's Anatomy, he'd watch whatever. He'd turn into two things, and I would just call him and be like, "Are you good?" Like, is there? And he'd be like, "Yeah." I had to get used to the fact that it wasn't me. It was his time and his space. And again, as much as difficult as it was for me to move, it was just as difficult for him, because now I had to realize that you have the responsibility of me.
Yeah, your mood impacts my mood invariably, just like my mood impacts your mood. But again, the natural dynamic of it is when a man senses his woman's energy is not right, we automatically default to thinking it's us. And then that causes us to move, because sometimes we feel like it's legitimate, and that's when you see your men trying to do stuff to make it better. And then sometimes we feel like it's illegitimate, and that's when you find your man being a real a-hole about stuff, because he doesn't feel like he's being treated appropriately to the context of the relationship.
I just want to read a couple of comments. So sure. Twins Inc. said, I'm speaking for most men, not y'all, your relationship. Not y'all relationship, which is hashtag dope. Thank you. And Danny says she misses us. I do miss you guys. She also says alone time is amazing. Alone time is amazing time. It's healthy. I absolutely agree. Right? Like, and so again, me retreating to the closet, that's where I meditate. Earlier, I was writing my book in the closet. Sometimes I go in the closet. It's a space in the house where I close the door, and I think he generally understands that this is my time. Unless he absolutely has to go in the closet, he will give me that moment. And it's because I have to understand that I do understand. And I have to understand, as difficult as sometimes it is, that my mood does affect him.
Yeah, so she like puts her energy in
thank you. So I'd rather put my energy in the closet, figure out and do whether I have to, whether I'm WhatsApping my girls in a WhatsApp group or I'm meditating. That's actually where I meditate. I either meditate in the closet or on top of the mountain that I hike to. But I need to get my energy right, because the last thing I want to do is have that impact his day. And in previous relationships, I didn't care. I was a terror. Fuck whose day I was impacting. I needed to get what I needed. And my maturity in therapy, shout out to my therapist, Tamar, helped me to understand that for a successful relationship, that wasn't going to work.
And another thing I think that she does really good that I think...
I do well things well.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like,
go on.
Preferences is like, ladies, especially with the smaller stuff, like for instance, the TV was on, I guess it was too loud. She just comes in here and turns it down and leaves. And I'm like, I guess the TV was too loud. It's not a big deal though. It wasn't, I had to turn it down. And then leave. Now you done bought that energy onto me, and I'm like, damn, I'm just sitting here watching TV. I don't know what you got going on in there. But you like just fix it. Like, just deal with it. Just do whatever it is. Like, if he's making too much noise, then turn the radio down or something. And if he makes an issue out of it, then now he's not trying to keep the peace, because, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that's a real thing to do. His smoking bothering you, crack the window or something. Like, burn some sage. She be trying to run me out the house with sage.
I be saging up this house like a storm.
But I think just addressing things sometimes without the conversation will eliminate a lot of the drama and help keep the peace. Like, if there's, like, sometimes she hangs her workout clothes on the balcony, and the wind be blowing, then I'm like, I'm not going to keep running down here to pick this. I'll just bring it in and put it on the couch. And she'll do it accordingly. But I don't got to be like, you getting on my nerves, leaving this stuff out here. It's not, it doesn't even warrant that type of response. It's like, I can just as easily rectify the situation that's bothering me as much as she can. So why wouldn't I rectify it rather than bring it to her, annoy her with my annoyance, and then expect her to fix it? Like, I can just deal with it.
So for Twins Inc., I'm going to change the name and say, it isn't so much keeping the peace as protecting your energy.
Yeah. I think that's more important, probably.
Right? And that for me is the key. I don't actually think to myself, I'm keeping the peace by not saying X or by not acting in this manner. I've actually said to myself, I'm protecting my energy.
Or your partner's energy.
Like, or your partner's energy.
I do not want, like, I don't believe that misery should love company. I
think
misery should go in the closet and
go meditate.
You know, and you're right. Go meditate. Misery should go somewhere and be by itself until it's not miserable no more, and then rejoin the happy people. Like, don't try to make all the unhappy people miserable with you. You know what I'm saying? So I think we both have that inclination. If I know I'm not in a good energy space and she's floating on air, why would I bring my drama to her if I say I love her? Why would I let her keep floating on air and just excuse myself and go be funky on my own somewhere.
You know what's interesting is, Robert said something to me that I had never thought about it before you had said it. And you were talking to me about women having female relationships. And he said to me, I don't trust or date women who don't have long-term female relationships.
Okay.
Because if women can't get along with you, why? It was basically that point. Like, why should I think that I'm gonna get along with you? And so, one of my selling points was that I've had long-term friendships, right? Like, he met when we were in New York. My very first best friend in Jamaica. Yes, you can add that in Jamaica when I was 5 years old. I'm 41 now. It was actually on my 41st birthday because we celebrated my birthday in New York. My best friend Nami, who's on here, we've been friends for 23 years and we've navigated adulthood and parenthood together. And part of the practice for a relationship is your friendship.
That's the point. That's why I have that philosophy, because in my observation and experience, women's friendship with other women is like little mini marriages. They go through breakups, they go through makeups, they go through honeymoons, they go through what they call 7-year itches. Like, they go through all of that stuff. They break up, they make up, they fuss, they fight, but they have an amazing ability to be there for each other in the midst of all of that. Fellas, we don't have that level of dynamics to our relationships. I got partners that's been my man since 3rd grade. He always gonna be my man. I might not even talk to bro once or twice every couple of years. You know what I'm saying? But when dudes fall out, we fall out, and it's that. Like, I don't have a single friend that it got to the point that I was like, we not friends no more, and then we wound up becoming friends again. Like, men don't really rock like that. It's like, now, brothers will come to fisticuffs though at the same time. Like, and again, I have gotten into some very rough disagreements with my brothers, but it doesn't change the fact that you bros, you know what I mean? But women, again, the dynamics of a woman's relationship are very, very different. I think they're more intrinsic. And again, if you ain't got a home girl for 10, 11, 12 years, I know good and well you ain't gonna be able to keep no man for 10, 12 years. That's
a good point. So, Twin Zinc has made 2 comments. He said facts about what I said. He said I've said Jamaica 7 times. Nami says, we have the type of friendship that others envy and talk about, just saying, which is very true. And don't get it wrong, we aren't perfect, but we know how to navigate it, which is the reality. It's funny. So when you said that, I thought it was interesting because Nami gets, I think, it the most out of all of us. Like, Nami, so I've got a very, diverse group of friends. My core group of friends, it's Nami, Odilia, and Natalie, and Patchy. Nami, Odilia, and I have been friends since, again, 23 years. So we're talking about 1998. Nami and Odilia have known each other from high school. So we're talking about 1994, 1993. So it's been very long years. We've watched each other grow. And it's funny when pictures of us go up over the years. Nami, funny enough, will get inboxes like, holy crap, you guys are still friends. And she's like, yeah. Because I don't know if it's shocking. I'm not sure what it is, but people are always like, you guys are still rocking? And it's like, yeah, these are my sisters. These are not my friends. These are my sisters without the blood. This is the family I chose for good or bad, right? So that's really, really important. So, Twin Zinca says, fellas, ladies who don't have long friends.
For real though, she cannot maintain relationships, especially in 2020. And that's another one of my I was having a conversation with my bro about this, and it was like these quote unquote insta baddies. If you follow some of the posts and stuff like that, all they do is talk about relationship struggles, whether it's with a dude or whether it's with their girlfriends. And it's like when you keep seeing that, a person, they just have this couple of years turnover or their social circle. It's because, again, either you take you with you everywhere you go.
Ooh! Praise the Lord, hallelujah to that. Ooh, repeat that one.
No, and I know, again, I'm waiting for some of our haters and some of our not fans to join in and start talking shit and stuff like that. But in general, the people that have known me for a while tend to think a certain kind of way of me because it's a certain level of consistency. I didn't just up and if you look at just photographs over the last 20, 25 years. I don't have like wild variances in my looks. I don't have wild variances in my personality. I don't have wild variances in how I represent myself. You know what I'm saying? I think that makes it a little easier to kind of fall in line with the dude who was goth for a couple years, and then he was a metro for a couple years, then he was a thug for a couple years, then he was
trying to find
then
yourself.
He was the Brooks Brothers suit guy for a couple years, and it's like that. It's a similar principle. Like, consistency breeds familiarity.
But again, I think those types of relationships prepare you for a romantic relationship, right? I think the relationship I have with the circle of friends that I have, the girlfriends that I have, and again, I've got different groups with different personalities and different things like that. They prepare you for a relationship. I did get softer with age, Nemi's so right. And therapy. I'm going to keep repeating that word, women. Therapy is so important. But I did, because I had, you know what I did in my life, and I think, this was important. I took a look at the people who were having successful relationships around me. What were they doing that I wasn't? And that's very hard for people to do. Like, I'm a winner. Okay? I win at things. I am probably the most competitive friend of all of I am just competitive. If my daughter was on, she would tell you, I compete with everything. I am competitive. I wasn't winning in the relationship race. And so I had to take a step back and look at my friend group, those who were being successful, and saying, what is it that they're doing that I'm not? Because it has to be something, right? And I had to also listen to them when they were giving me my shit and saying, yo, Sheba, like, yeah, you might want to work on this a little bit, because that's not gonna rock. And, listen, self-reflection is so important, but also having people around you who are willing to call you on your shit. And Lord, all of my friends have called me on my shit. And so I thank them. So all of the relationships that I had with my female friends is actually prepared me for a successful relationship with someone who honestly can be very difficult to deal with. I'm just saying.
That's legit.
I love it. Twins Inc. said, quote of the day is, you take you wherever you go. Big talks. Like, that's why I said, repeat that, because that is, and I think, I always talk, I used to do consulting, and I used to tell people about their personal brand. And I said, your personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room.
Absolutely. And that's one thing I got.
That's your relationship too.
As an athlete early, like my high school coach, shout out, rest in peace to Coach Jackson. Like, that's one of the most ingrained things he put into us was like life, like your name is all you got. Like, and here I am 20-something years later, and that's still something that I really think about. Because I think of a lot of situations sometimes where if I made different decisions, how different my life could be. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? If I chose to take the easy gratification, if I chose to not be loyal, if I chose to, turn and run, or when it got difficult or whatever it was, and I think that's how you arrive at a place sometimes where people are able to ride with you, is you've given them enough reason to feel like you ride with them. I heard something earlier today about women, and I was like, yo, that's facts. A lot of brothers got this kind of twisted. And it was along the lines of a woman is not wired to give before she receives.
Ooh.
And I was like, damn, that is extremely true.
That's interesting.
Like, just anatomically, women are receivers. You feel me? So coming into it from day one as a man, and I've even been in that place of like, what's in it for me? Mm-hmm. You're not ever gonna truly see that, because she's not wired to give you anything until you started giving into her.
And I wanna pause on that because maybe that was because people gonna be all in our business. Maybe that was the difference in the beginning of a relationship. I'm just gonna quote. I'm hoping I can read this properly. Nami says, if your partner had a critique and speaks to you about it, sometimes you gotta swallow your pride and take it in because they're sharing it with you because they want you to make an effort to change for the betterment of the relationship. And I think I said that. Here's the thing. I'm gonna go back to something Twins Inc. said earlier about, as men, especially as black men, you're going out into the world and you have so much waiting for you. You don't want to have to deal with a war when you come home, meaning that a man has to watch everything he says in his home. I think what we decided in the beginning of our relationship is that it was us against them.
Right.
And them could be anybody. Could be a mama, a papa. Like it was, we had to make that commitment to each other and saying, it's us against them. And them is anyone who is outside the perimeters of this home. And with that in mind, we have a relationship that is focused on our commitment to the commitment of the relationship. And so I'm not in a space where I have to deal with the outside influences, because that should have no place inside our home. And often that's why there's so much of the keeping the peace that Twins Inc. is talking about, where a man has to watch so much of what he says, is because there's too much outside influence on the relationship. That is the I would say, maybe the number 2 thing I learned from watching the relationship of my friends who were successful in their relationship is they didn't let the yammering of the outside world impact what was happening in their relationship. And that can be very hard to do, especially if the yammering is coming from family and friends and so forth. But I found that the success that they had was because what happened in their home was in their home. They weren't like, yeah, thank you for, the information, but my relationship is my relationship is my relationship, and I'm going to do with that information and keep that shit outside my head.
That's facts though. Like, I think that you got to have a certain level of maturity to yourself to have a successful relationship, and you have to have a certain maturity to your circle. Like, if as a dude, all of my homeboys say, because again, we all vent. Say if I'm just visibly disturbed, and it's obviously something related to Toshiba. What kind of sense would it make for me to have a bunch of homeboys that's like, man, fuck that. Or, she's upset at Robin. All her homegirls are like, fuck that nigga, man. Like, you don't need him, girl. Why would you want to have people around you that encourage breakup as opposed to riding it out?
Yep.
You feel me?
I gotta go in and go out of this.
People who encourage breakup is usually people who don't have anything to go to. Because people who have relationships usually will say, oh, well, me and my husband went through something, I'm glad we stuck through it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In 2021, most people have a single mentality. So of course, you're going to always get that feedback when you go through any type of drama with your relationship. That's why you have to protect it. I learned that a while ago, and my maturity has caused me to really believe that. Like, be careful what you bring to the outside when you're just kind of kicking it. Because she does something to me. I'm going to forgive her for that.
But the other people aren't.
It probably wasn't even a big deal for me. Like you said, in that moment, it was a big deal. But now my mama is still remembering what she did last Christmas, and it's still letting that influence her behavior, because your friends always want to be in your corner. Not many of your friends, when you tell them what your partner did, are going to be like, well, what did you do
to cause that?
Kind of, what's the context around the situation? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what people in relationships, when they advise people on relationship struggles, will tell them. Yeah. It's like, look, man, you ain't got a whole lot of lateral movement in controlling what she does. But you can control how you receive it. how you deal with it, your perspective on the subjects. You know, sometimes her movements ain't got nothing to do with me.
At all.
Sometimes my movements ain't got nothing to do with
Zero.
her. You know, and it helps that if you're able to communicate that, but you're not always going to be able to communicate that either. So you can't be in a place where you're just running out into the streets, putting all your business out there.
And Nami says, yes, Rob. Nurse Denise says, say that. Princess Shelley Love. Shelley says, yup. And she also says, lessons learned. And I think as you get older, and we would hope, because again, I think, you know, at our age, again, 41 and 45, people in their 40s, late 30s, early 40s, some of us haven't learned these lessons, unfortunately. We didn't necessarily have the best role models to teach us this, and unfortunately, it means that we have to go through some of the worst trials in our life to get there. And I think we both went through him more than me. Hallelujah. Usually it's the women who comes in with all the things. He came in with a truckload of drama. But I love you so much.
It's real though, yo. It's real, man. We both went through some things.
So, but I think what, you know, I wanted to say what was different. What was different in the beginning of us getting together, again, if you weren't here for the first show, our first conversation was October 18th. Our anniversary is October 28th. And this was long distance during COVID. So within 10 days, we knew what we wanted, fell in love, the whole kit and caboodle. What was different is we showed each other a vulnerability I don't think either one of us had done in a previous relationship. Like, we put the whole thing out on the table. I gave him everything from the amuse-bouche to the dessert and said, here is the spread. This is me. This is what I come with. This is everything. He did the same. And this is where we are.
Oh, that was the blueprint, because everybody, I remember there were specific topics where in your head you're like, ugh, I don't really want to get into this because, well, it's not even that you don't really want to get into it, but it's like, if this person judges me a certain way based off of it, isn't it the worst when somebody holds some shit over you that the only reason they know is because you told them?
Ooh, so true.
That shit's crazy, right?
So true. Because you were having a vulnerable moment.
The reason you know this is because I told you this, and now you're throwing that in my face.
Especially in a moment of an argument where they're using it to belittle or hurt you.
Facts, yo. So, like, I lost my train of thought. Sorry. Okay.
So his point was, because we had been so open and vulnerable with each other. Go on.
Like, so yeah, you know, you'll have these issues where you're like, if this person judges me for this, it's like, I'm going to pull the whole deal off of the table. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, that's how getting to know somebody is almost. You keep
feeding
taking a step, and seeing if you get that rejection. Because we all fear rejection. I don't care what none of y'all say.
Yeah, I fear rejection.
When you present yourself, you want to be accepted.
Yeah.
That's human nature. You know what I'm saying? Some of us have different capacities to accept rejection. Some of us have different capacities to pursue acceptance. But we all want the same stuff. So when you're opening yourself up and presenting those little vulnerabilities and a person accepts them, that gives you confidence. Now you're like, okay, and you want to keep going, and you want to keep going. Then you get down to the meat and potatoes sometimes, like the baggage, the skeletons in the closet, the dirt. Now you're at that point, and again, some of y'all skip right on over that shit. You let the other person find that out for themselves.
Don't. Not a good idea.
That's not a good idea.
Not a good idea.
Not a good idea. So you get to that stuff, and then you start putting it out there. I think with both of us, there was reception there. It was like even a commonality in certain things. So it was like, okay, like, you know, you're like, oh, okay, so I bet you told that to somebody and they got it out. And it's like, yeah. You know, and it's like, okay, so we had both had been, I don't want to say shunned, but had similar reception to certain things that came along with our experience. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So when we were going through those topics with each other, and that's like maybe like the midway point, it was like, oh, okay, but it's like punching through the ice a little bit. It's like, okay, that was the hard part right there. Mm-hmm. Once you get past that initial barrier of like, okay, now it seems like this person is really kind of willing to accept me. Now we can full disclosure, like this is what it is, like totally, because I think we both saw it the same way. Is I want you to know what you're getting into. I don't want to limit your choice, because I don't like when that when I've been in situations where I felt like that was the case. Like, I call that emotional terrorism, when you let someone get emotionally invested in a situation and then you present facts that change the dynamics of it. You know, you let this woman develop feelings for you and then you tell her, I'm secretly married to another woman in Utah.
Or I got 4 kids.
Or whatever it is. Or I go both ways, you know. I mean, it'd be all kind of stuff. What's that show we was
watching? Love is Blind.
Love is Blind. We're watching it, and I'm looking at a dude, and I'm like, so early on in the show, he's saying he's had dating experiences with men and women. He waits, though, until they on vacation together, after they done selected each other, to disclose this. And then had the nerve
to be mad at her.
Upset with how she
was seeking the
information. You don't get to do that. You can't hold something back that significant as I dated men and women,
and then get mad at the other person.
Get mad because maybe she was not mad at that information. She's more mad that you
withheld it.
You bypassed several opportunities to have that conversation with her before you did that. That's what I'm getting to. Don't take people's choices from them. You know what I'm saying? You can be the biggest hot mess in the world. Give a person a chance to love on your hot mess or not. You know what I'm saying? But when you withhold that information, it's never going to work out good, because that's why that leads people to feel betrayed and deceived and duped and stuff like that. It's like, again, you let them to believe one thing, and then you say, oh, you know, I'm a clean, solid, upstanding citizen. Then it's, oh, you know, I got a felony. You know, I did this. You know,
and the person's now attached to you.
Right.
Emotions are involved, and now they're dealing with the emotions and trying to figure out if they need to separate from you. And that was for us. That like, again, we were 40 and 44. Like, we've been together for a year, right? Like, we had been through some stuff. There is no way. And he's a professional basketball player. I'm not stupid. He went through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, and I've had a background. I've been on pole.
We both have kind of like a gorilla mentality, though, when we met, of like, look, if I'm not gonna even waste no time on you if you're not messing with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it can be, because like, I think we both were kind of at the state. It's like, I'm not desiring no particular kind of, like, we're both looking for just a little fun.
Again, we're locked down for because of COVID.
It wasn't like, you know, I'm on here
to change my life.
Right, but it's like, so I'm not even entertaining bullshitting with you like that. You know what I'm saying? If, you know, like, again, you see, if a person steps to me and they like, Biden supporters, leave me alone. I'm not a Biden supporter, but that statement lets me know that's not someone that I have a high probability of getting along with. So I can make that choice right then and there, like, nah. You know what I mean? But don't let somebody really get, you know, I've been coming over for Sunday dinner for months now, and then your relatives come over and it done turned into a Trump convention. And now I'm sitting there like, ain't this a bitch? Like, if I would have known this, I might not be sitting here today.
With him.
And I think that fear of, I want this person, I don't want them to reject me, man, let them reject you, man. I'd rather be rejected for honesty than love for a lie.
Amen. And with that, I'm going to read the poll results, and I know time is running out, so we're going to pick a question from our poll. Thank you for those, again, who took the poll. So there was 4 questions. Is keeping the peace a priority in your relationship? 89% yes, 11% no. What's more important, keeping the peace or being right? 100% of the people said keeping the peace. Good. Have you ever given up on an argument to keep the peace? 83% said yes, 17% said no. And how do you apologize to your partner? One person, Boz, let us know that by being sincere, sitting down and apologizing for my part in the disagreement. So I thought that was amazing. And again, thank you for everybody who shared and took part of the poll. Again, if you want to be a part of the show, please let us know. We would love to hear other people's viewpoints. Again, the point of this show, Fuck Your Feelings, is to change the conversation around Black relationships. There seems to be this idea that relationships are doomed, especially as we get older and women are realizing that they're stuck in their ways. And, you know, that's gonna be a little bit repulsive to some men because a lot of women, again, Black, strong, independent women, I don't take no ish. That's not necessarily the vibe to be going into the relationship. And I talk about it in my book, No Hands Up for Black Girls. No straight man wants to date another man. And that's how we look when we talk about, I bring my education and my PhD and all that to the table when a man doesn't care about none of that shit. So we are going to, should I take one? I guess I take one this week because you took it last week. So I guess I hold it myself and take the question. Okay, great.
So much on that.
So again, he's only talent, so he just shows up, and then once this is done, he leaves. So, because he's talent. Anyways, who's more I like this one. Who's more likely to live through a zombie attack? No, get the fuck out of here. First of all, I am the one who's more likely to live through a zombie attack. I am the healthiest one in this house, and I'm the one who works out 6 days a week religiously. He would not get through the zombie attack because his lungs would fail him because he's a smoker and he's lazy. You might have long legs, but you wouldn't get far. So I'm done with you. He is so
Trigger Tai Chi, that's all I need. I got all kind of firearms around the house. I will make it through the zombie apocalypse.
Good night.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm prepared.
Okay.
I'm prepared.
Anyways,
zombie headshots, I'm ready for
I'm going to, so we're going to, just because let's pick another one, because I'm done with you. One more. Okay?
Trigger Tai Chi. If you don't practice it, you should learn.
Twin Six.
It's a big thing in Arizona.
Yes, it is.
It's called Trigger Tai Chi, and you don't have to be able to do nothing but pull a trigger. Do you think we would have worked if we met in our 20s? Nah.
No.
I can say straight up and down.
No.
We probably would have fooled around for a little while or something like that, but I think...
We wouldn't have worked. That's very different. Giving you the business is not the same as we would have worked.
That's all I really was doing in my 20s, so I wouldn't work with anybody.
No. I will also answer no. Had we met in our 20s, this relationship would not...
definitely not have liked me then.
I would have not liked... Some days I don't like you now.
True.
But I deal with you, so it's fine. But I definitely wouldn't have liked you back in your 20s when you were still playing ball. Listen, I can only imagine. God help the women who were actually dating him while he was still playing ball. It wasn't dating. Okay, well, while he was going through what were you doing?
European tour.
He was going through his European tour because he spent most of his 6-year career playing ball in Europe, and I think one in, was this
7.5 years.
7.5 years.
Europe and South America, but yeah, I was on a tour.
So he was going through his tour.
Robbie Rob was touring South America.
And so we would not have worked in our 20s. So I am glad the universe had enough sense to bring us together now. So again, we could create this show so we could change the conversation around Black relationships. We want to thank each of you that joined us tonight. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. We love
Twins once again. Twins
said, light drop, trigger finger stride. Do not encourage him, please. He's not surviving. We're going to argue about this off the air because he's actually not surviving. First of all, he has to be able to raise his hand quick to get through it. I would be skirting through them zombies. He's also 6'9". Like they're going to be looking at him while I'm skirting through with my 5'5" self. So thank you for protecting me while I survive the zombie apocalypse. Thank you, everybody. I will see you next week. If you have any topic ideas or would just like to actually join us live on the show, we would love to have some guests so we can hear what other people are doing to keep their relationship strong. And I want to thank my two best friends who I think are now both on there, Odelia and Nami, for being amazing inspirations and showing me what good relationships are. And Odelia's last comment is, my man said trigger finger touch. Ignore him, Odie. This is the craziness I deal with on a daily basis. Pray for me, everybody. Love you and good night. We are out of here because I am done with him. Bye.
Keep one on the coffee table.
Whatever.